I have always been interested in Ghost of Yotei ever since its reveal last year, so much so that this summer I played Ghost of Tsushima for the first time to get ready for it. A Japanese samurai-inspired title is always going to get my attention, but Yotei focuses on a more rugged protagonist filled with hatred and revenge. I enjoyed the themes, the world, and the gameplay of Tsushima greatly, but with the new lens Yotei provides, did I find this experience better or worse? What's up? How's it going, people? Welcome to Casual Gamer Reviews. If you want to support the channel, then please leave a like and subscribe, or if you don't like it, then leave a thumbs down and I will try to be better next time. Ghost of Yotei took me 50 hours for completion, and yes, I got the platinum. Reviewed on PlayStation 5. The most memorable gameplay elements of Ghost of Tsushima were the stances and the standoffs. They stood out for being unique mechanics that we don't often see in games, if at all. Both of these return in Yotei, but are slightly altered in a way that I think feels much better. Instead of stances, you have weapons, and these work in the exact same way. Each weapon is most effective against a certain enemy type. The katana is most effective against other katana-wielding enemies. The kusarigama is most effective against shields, the dual katana against spears, the odachi against brutes, and the spear against sickle and kusarigama. While in Tsushima, I thought the stance changing took the fluidity out of the combat and it felt a bit jarring. Doing a simple switch in Yotei to make these weapons felt much more immersive. It made more sense for me to be banging my katana against a shield and switching to the kusarigama to break through instead of changing from stone stance to water stance, for example. The weapons themselves are fantastic, from the hefty odachi to the fear-inducing AoE chain attacks of the kusarigama. Each have their own visual customization with weapon kits and dyes, and also their own skill trees. The skill trees unlock new moves as well as buffs, so I could be typhoon kicking people off cliffs when wielding a spear, or assassinating people from long range with the kusarigama, which never got old. You can also upgrade each weapon at the forge, and the way this game does its upgrades is by progression locking them. What I mean by this is that each tier of the upgrade level has materials locked behind a new region that can only be accessed through story progression. Initially, I was annoyed by this, as the way I like to play this game is exploration first and story second. I thought it might make me not feel rewarded for my adventuring. In reality though, it is not noticeable, and I never once felt underpowered, but I did feel like I could always upgrade pretty much whenever I wanted to as soon as I unlocked a new region. The standoffs also return, as I mentioned, and these remain my favourite mechanic this game series introduced. Standoffs are one-on-one cinematic duels where you face an enemy in a who blinks first scenario. Holding down the triangle button, you must avoid getting caught out by the enemy's feints and release at the exact time they attack to effortlessly slice through them for a one-hit kill. Much like the first game, you can unlock skills and gear that stack the number of consecutive enemies you can face in a single standoff. New to Yotei is the Wolf. She accompanies you through several moments of the open world, and if your bond grows strong enough, she will join you in standoffs. This effectively doubles the amount of opposition you can slice through, but with the added benefit that you now have a wolf helping you fight in this encounter even after the standoff has finished. I really like the standoffs. They are so stylish and satisfying to perform. A real artistic expression that mixes combat up in a way we have not really seen outside of movies and TV. You can also sneak around and assassinate people in Yotei, as you are still a ghost after all, but personally I prefer to take most things head on. I think this style suited new protagonist Atsu more, and her carefree attitude on her quest for revenge. If you did want to go the stealth route though, all enemy encampments will have paths that suit this. There will be tall grass, many rooftops and beams to take the aerial route, as well as the never-ending satisfaction of the long-range kusarigama assassination. The combat options expand even further with ranged and quick-fire weapons. The trusty short and longbow make a return with their various arrow types, but new to this game, given the new time period, are the guns. You get a musket for your long-range weapon and a pistol for your quick-fire. The musket is super powerful but takes ages to reload, as you would expect. The pistol is quick-fire and staggers all enemies, including bosses. I love the pistol, but bullets can sometimes prove scarce. Other quick-fire weapons include a smoke bomb for stealth and two other damage-inducing bombs, Metsubishi, which is a white chalk that you throw in the face of your opposition, Kunai, which can hit multiple targets, and the Oni's flame. I mean, come on, they had to make sure you could set your sword on fire. I mentioned the skill trees for the weapons, and you also have skill trees for Atsu herself, where you can spec into different abilities. The Onryo tree has things things like parry, survivability, ranged weapons, and special moves. Onryo is a being from Japanese mythology that resembles a vengeful spirit or ghost. You should get used to that word because you're gonna hear it a lot in this title. There are also core skill trees for basic attacks, a horse tree, a wolf tree, and then the special story-related tree. It is pretty expansive but not complicated, which helps it not to feel bloated. Charms make a return in Yotei, and they work in the same way to provide certain buffs and enhancements. New to this game though is the ability to upgrade them if you use them in the way they are intended. There are more numerous armor sets too, which provide their own support to different gameplay styles. You can make loadouts if you want to play in a different way depending on the situation, but I personally never thought that this was necessary. The exploration in Yotei I thought worked much more seamlessly, as I found the terrain significantly easier to navigate. It was extremely rare to find myself stuck at the bottom of a mountain with no discernible route up. You can also use a spyglass to pinpoint points of interest from afar, which felt considerably more intuitive. New to this title are the camps, which you can set up anywhere by interacting with your horse. In the camps you can build a fire, cook food, or play your shamisen. All of these utilize the DualSense touchpad, which felt a little gimmicky, but it wasn't offensive. I particularly loved the shamisen, which you could play at any time, not just in the camps. New songs could be discovered through exploration, and some even had additional effects like guiding you towards collectibles. The winds still guide you to your objective by swiping up on the DualSense touchpad, and you'll be spending a lot of time looking at your map. But I did find this game less bloated than Tsushima with its side content. There are some activities that make an appearance from the first game, like the hot spring, shrines, fox dens, and bamboo strikes. These are all reduced in scope to a level that doesn't feel as over the top as they did before. They are all spaced out and in more manageable numbers. The shrines themselves are longer to complete, which allows you to enjoy the fun platforming. You have a grapple from the offset in Yotei, so you can scale the heights and swing across gaps to your heart's content. Hot springs increase your max health, bamboo strikes increase your max spirit, which is used to heal and perform special moves, shrines give you rare charms, and fox dens upgrade certain charms. Yotei is still a big game though, and with it comes new activities to fill the open world. First, there are the wolf dens, which see Atsu helping the game's main wolf free her companions from the hunters. These always start with a high speed sequence where you follow the wolf at top speed on your horse to get to the hunter's camp. It then features a battle where you and the wolf fight side by side to rid the world of this evil. Completion of these activities gives you a point to spend in your wolf skill tree. Then there is the Sumi-e paintings. Sucker Punch love to incorporate the DualSense into their titles, and these activities are a main component of that. They replace Tsushima's haiku and see you settling in a secluded, tranquil spot to do some painting. All the painting is done through the touchpad, where the game outlines the strokes to take, and honestly, it's quite satisfying. In addition, you can hang this art back in your home base if you so desire. There are new puzzle-based activities too. Throughout the world, there are 4 mountain reliquary puzzles. Each of these will give you a brief riddle which you must decipher to learn the position that 4 wolf statues should be facing. These aren't too difficult, but did pose an enjoyable brain teaser to break up the action. Each of these would reward a super sick piece of cosmetic clothing that relates to the beautiful Mount Yotei. The other head-scratching activity are the puzzle boxes that exist solely in the Kitsune's territory. This whole area is filled with puzzle-based systems and hidden areas to progress, as the whole idea is that the Kitsune leads a gang of shinobi. Puzzle boxes discovered in this area are interactable cubed objects where you must not only find the sliding panels, but what order they should slide in to result in being able to open the lid. These were the more difficult puzzles to solve, and I thoroughly enjoyed working each of them out. The rewards here seem pretty random, from resources to money to charms. The accumulation of all Atsu's upgrade points are tied to discovering altars of reflection. There are 61 of these to find out in the world that relate to the 61 unlockable skills across all of her trees, excluding the wolf one. Some of these can only be accessed by clearing Yotei 6 camps, which are worth completing in my eyes, not only for these altars, but because they are usually filled to the brim with money and rare resources. Next is the bounty system. This was my favorite activity, as it just suited Atsu as a person the most. Each new area will have a bounty master where you can accept bounties from a board and go out hunting. In total, there are 31 bounties and each offers something slightly different when it comes to fighting style. There are a handful that deviate from the path the others follow and end up being more of a side quest, but for the most part these bounties will end in a one-on-one cinematic duel where you must test your mettle. The difficulty of these can be quite high and it never once felt like a walk in the park, which is everything I desired from a duel to the death over a bounty. I felt like this is what it was actually like for bounty hunters hundreds of years ago, where it was pretty evenly matched. The rewards for these are usually a cosmetic item from the Fallen, as well as the coins equal to their bounty. Lastly, Ghost of Yotei introduces a mini-game called Zeni Hejiki, which is a gambling game that involves flicking coins. The objective of the game is to flick a coin into another coin to gain a point. If you miss or hit more than one coin, you don't get a point. If you knock a coin off the table, you give your opponent a point. I understand why Sucker Punch would introduce a game like this, as we have seen so many great ones in open world games, most notably Gwent from The Witcher 3, but even more recently Sabak from Star Wars Outlaws. Zeni Hejiki does not reach anywhere near these heights though, as it is just far too simple and pretty easy to win. There was only one time I lost, and it was a mission related loss, so it wasn't by choice. This one was a bit of a miss for me. Ghost of Yotei is one of the most gorgeous games I've experienced this generation, at least when it comes to the environments. This art style, like most AAA titles, is leaning into realism but with so much color. Yotei has a slightly different color palette to Tsushima, which I considered as red or orange against the monochrome white and black. Yotei leans far more into the yellow and sky blue, represented by the fields of gold and Mount Yotei itself. The environments are stunning and you can really see the step up this series has made for the current generation. When you first get into the open world and there are just fields of yellow flowers in bloom, I physically gasped. Further to this, any painting spot you find will be so tranquil and visually captivating, you won't ever be in doubt about this world's beauty. The best way to capture this beauty would be in the photo mode. Don't worry shutterbugs, the photo mode is back and it has all the filters and effects you could desire. I personally love playing around with the live weather effects and shifting the time of day to get that perfect height of sun to cast the most picturesque shadow. The characters are also extremely realistic and animated well. Atsu looks like actress Erika Ishii is present in every scene as opposed to a 3D video game model. My only slight gripe with the visuals are the wolf and the other hound animals, which I thought looked a bit out of place. I never thought that these models looked good and they stuck out in such a gorgeous world. It was a combination of the fur physics and the walking or running animation that was just a bit janky. Lastly is the cinematic mode you can play this title in. Returning from the first game is the Kurosawa mode, which allows you to once again play in a style that looks like one of the famed director's movies. This means a black and white filter with film grain and a slightly altered audio. There are two other modes introduced here that are new to Yotei. The first is the Mike mode, which brings the camera in closer and also increases the blood and mud as Atsu slices up her enemies during her adventure. The last mode is the Watanabe mode, which brings lo-fi beats to your gaming experience. Watanabe being known for his creation of Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo. Outside of the lo-fi mode, which is all original tracks, Yotei's wider soundtrack is also excellent, composed by Toma Ottawa, who has a co-composer credit on Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. These melodies elegantly reflect the cultural Eastern sounds by using the shamisen as the main instrumental driver. The shamisen replaces the flute and is on Atsu at all times. It has narrative implications, but more importantly for this point is that you can learn new songs throughout the world and play it at any time, whether you be at camp or just wandering the wilds. This traditional 3-string 16th century instrument is not one I've ever heard of before this game, but it is one that I loved hearing at several points throughout the soundtrack. I thought the first title had an amazing track list blending the cultural East with Western beats. I think Yotei is better. The voice work is also strong. Erika Ishii does the voice for Atsu as well as being the body model, and she does a great job. The other actors are not ones I am familiar with, but they have memorable performances, especially Fyodor Chin as Lord Saito and Jeannie Bolé as Oyuki. Unlike Tsushima, you can play Yotei with Japanese VO, including full animation for the speaking. This is not how I played, but I definitely see the attraction given this rich setting. The one side of Yotei where I don't think it excels past Tsushima is the story. While I had my gripes with Tsushima's story, I also have my gripes with this story. Yotei is in essence a revenge story where Atsu seeks out the Yotei Six as they murdered her family when she was younger. This event, known as the Night of the Burning Tree, is one we constantly get flashbacks for throughout the story, and whilst this is historical tale is powerful, the execution of Atsu's revenge quest isn't. You create a list at the very start of the game with the 6 names, and you must progress your adventure to cross them off. There are some twists and turns, of course, and I'm not saying the story is bad by any means, but due to it walking a path well trodden, I found it pretty predictable as a result. Yes, there are some powerful moments. Yes, there are some emotional moments, but did I predict the ending after killing the second of the 6? I sure did. I also don't like how the story implies you are free to do as you please and approach these 6 in any order, as that is not the case. You are driven down a precise route to get to your end goal, which I think took a little bit more out of the experience of the revenge quest. What I will say though is that this story was better suited for the gameplay experience. Atsu, being a mercenary full of hatred, hell-bent on her murderous rampage, made the brutal assassinations and all-out eradication of enemy encampments feel more in sync. All in all, with my criticisms laid out, I think Yotei's story is on par with Tsushima's in my personal rankings. With Ghost of Yotei, Sucker Punch have expanded upon what made Ghost of Tsushima a great game and made it better. The combat mechanics are refined and flow smoother with the weapons than with the stance system. The visuals are making full use of the PS5 hardware and pop off the screen, even though some animal models were not the best. The side activities have had that fat trimmed off, and this makes it feel like a more fulfilling open world experience. The voice work and soundtrack are reward worthy, and the addition of puzzles were appreciated. The story is the only thing I would say is on level footing with the first game, and with that in mind, Ghost of Yotei gets a casual gamer score of 9 out of 10. Check out the channel for my most recent reviews of Dispatch and Keeper, or check out my best games of November video to see what you should be playing this month. If you enjoyed this content and want to see more, then please leave a like and subscribe, or if you don't like it, then leave a thumbs down and I will try to be better next time. Keep an eye on the channel for my upcoming spoiler cast for Dispatch and a quick look at Octopath Traveler 0, and for everything else casual gamer, keep it here. Peace and love.